We've got some breaking news from the NFL where Trevon Diggs is joining the Green Bay Packers one day after being waived by the Dallas Cowboys. That is per multiple reports. Diggs spent his first 6 seasons in Dallas, where he was a 2-time Pro Bowler. He started the first 6 games of the season before landing on IR with a concussion in October. Now, the Packers will wrap up the regular season on the road Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. And a game you can catch on CBS and streaming live on Paramount+. And we have our NFL analyst, Lige Douzable, here with us to discuss Trevon Diggs. This is a guy who's dealt with a lot of injuries over the last couple of years, including landing on IR because of a concussion in October. Lige, how much left does Trevon Diggs still have in the tank to bring to this Packers team?
Yeah, to be determined. And the funny thing is, he got his wish. He wanted to go to a team that's in playoff contention, and the Green Bay Packers are. But you go back to that 21 season when he was magical with 11 interceptions, and he even played well in the 22 season. But to your point, Jacqueline, has really struggled to stay healthy over the last couple of years, right? I believe only 2 games in the 23 season, and then we look at last year, only 11 games played there. But he's a guy, if the ball's in the air, he has a good chance to take it away. So it'd be interesting to see what Jeff Hafley does to add his skill set to this defensive back room, which is really good, right? You got Corey Ballantyne on the outside, Kashawn Nixon and Nate Hobbs at the cornerback position. It'll be interesting to see what different packages Jeff Hafley employs with Trevon Diggs' skill set. And it'll be even more interesting to see if he actually plays this Sunday, right, as they take on, I believe it's the Minnesota Vikings, right? They're probably going to rest the majority of the players because they can't move when it comes to their playoff seeding. So if they're able to get him in early enough and get him up to brass on the playbook, it'll be interesting to see if they put him out there because he does have a unique skill set as far as taking the football away. But again, to your point, hasn't been healthy over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and also, as you mentioned, Green Bay, they are locked into that 7th seed. They're the only team going into Week 18 where it doesn't matter. They're not going to move regardless. So with that in mind, and when we think of all the injuries that this Green Bay Packers team has dealt with, including, of course, Jordan Love with a concussion and a shoulder, is this team for real at this point with all the injuries going into the playoffs?
I mean, how quickly the NFL can change, right? Like life in the NFL changes vastly fast. Before the Micah Parsons injury, right, before the Jordan Love injury, this was a team that was vying for the number 1 seed in the NFC. Now they're locked into the number 7 seed, and you see all the injuries that they're dealing with right now. You saw Tucker Kraft out for the season, Marshawn Lloyd, who was a backup running back, out. Elgton Jenkins, a Pro Bowl left guard who moved to center, who also has played tackle for them, out for the season. Devontae Wyatt, right? And then that last one at the bottom is massive because with Jeff Hafley, what he does with his specific skill set is he moves them around like a joker. He puts them at different positions on the field so he can have an advantageous one-on-one scenario with pass rushing. And it also frees up other guys. And we've kind of seen since he's not been on this team, the defense has kind of been lackluster. Now, a lot of it was them not being able to stop King Henry in the run last week, but they've really struggled in regards to playing at the level they played with when Micah Parsons was on this team. So the injury bug, and I tell people this all the time, Jacqueline, sometimes you just need luck. Like, you need to be luckily healthy throughout the postseason to make a run at the Super Bowl. And for them, unfortunately, the injury bug has hit them at the worst time, right? Micah Parsons goes down. Then your quarterback, Jordan Love, is out with a concussion. But even the backup, Malik Willis was hurt, right? So, but he played through it. But it's like, these injuries are mounting at the worst possible time for the Green Bay Packers.
And as mentioned, locked into that 7th seed, so they're going to play either Chicago or Philly. So if you are Green Bay, what do you view?
Oh, you want Chicago. You want Chicago. Okay. First and foremost, it's a divisional foe. You know them really well.
Yeah.
You split both of the games you played with them, and they literally came down to the last play in both of those games. The Philadelphia Eagles, one thing you can count on is that defense is going to show up. And right now, with the injuries on the offensive side and defensive side for the Green Bay Packers, I would love to play Chicago, even if it is on the road at Chicago, just because you're familiar with that opponent, right? You know that you can get after Caleb Williams, and you know that your defense can play at a high level against that offense, which has been potent for the Chicago Bears. So if I'm the Green Bay Packers, I would rather face the Chicago Bears than the Philadelphia Eagles, just because the Eagles have a championship-type defense.
All right, Lige, we certainly appreciate it. Joining us here on HQ to talk about Trevon Diggs, who is heading to the Green Bay Packers.
Rose Bowl since the 60s. Bama was just there a couple of years ago, losing to Michigan in that epic overtime game, the last game under Nick Saban, and their last playoff appearance. Chris Hassel with Mackenzie Brooks, Lige Douzable, and Chip Patterson to break down tomorrow's Rose Bowl. And this is a mid-afternoon game. It's always the same start time for this thing, but we might not see the sunset because of the rain in the forecast. And Chip, such a different outlook for Alabama. This is the largest underdog they've been since 2008.
I think that for Alabama, you have to take into consideration two things in terms of the start of this game. Number one, Indiana being without one of its best pass rushers in Stephen Daly. Suffered a freak injury during the celebration of the Big Ten championship. He leads the team in tackles for loss. But number two is that Kalen DeBoer has had a lot of time to put together the script to be able to try to pick apart and give Ty Simpson some confidence, to be able to give this Alabama offense a hot start. And we have seen a lot of times that if Alabama does get off to a hot start, then it's going to give them a better chance throughout the entire game. You're not asking them to come back from a deficit when the run game is just not all that effective. So Kalen DeBoer, I've often joked that he should win an Academy Award for his script writing, but he really is a great game planner, play caller for those first 15. If they can jump out and jump over an Indiana team missing one of its best front seven players, that could be a way that the Crimson Tide punch first.
And Chip, you talked about the run game. That's where I'm going to go because it's been abysmal all year long. Can they have some semblance of a run game? Because just some semblance of it. Because you take some pressure off Ty Simpson. You don't want to just drop him back 30 to 40 times a game and expect him to be Mr. Superman, right? Jam Miller, Daniel Hill, Ty Simpson. Get Ty Simpson involved. He's an athlete. Get him involved. He's very mobile. And sometimes when it's not there, Ty, use your mobility to scramble and get first downs. My thing is, if you allow Indiana to make you one-dimensional, it's going to be a long day for you because they're plus 17 in the turnover margin. If they can just pin their ears back and get after you and send exotic blitzes, it's going to be a long day for Ty Simpson. So they have to do a good job of minimizing the pressure on him by having some semblance of a run game. I know that's a tall task to ask, Chip, because they haven't done it all year long. But today would be a great day to do it.
It's suck less at running the ball. Like, truly, I'm not asking for like these crazy numbers. Like, we have this as a 1-point game, and I look why. It's because we have Ty Simpson with the passing edge in the air. But if you can just add, instead of being negative 45 on the ground to just negative 20 on the ground, like some type of pulse to help out Ty Simpson the way you were mentioning it, Lige, that opens up this offense tremendously. So I do think at their ceiling with Ty Simpson playing his best football, again, we talk about that SEC championship, I take off my Georgia fan hat, and I do say they did have a lot of injuries that should be healthier now. We could see a way better version of this team, but if you're Alabama, this is probably the best situation you can be in if you're going to play a top 4 seed, because this is an Indiana defense that can allow explosive plays, and Alabama is everything of an explosive offense at their peak.
Yeah, at least through the air, because on the ground, as you mentioned, not good. 120th in the country out of 136 teams.
It's crazy to even think Alabama is in that realm.
I mean, we're talking to Damian Harris all the time, and think back to those teams and Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram, and this is not like those teams. If they can get a little bit, though, it could go a long way. On the side, Lige, what does the Heisman winner need to do in this game that maybe he hasn't had to do a lot of during the season?
Yeah, he's done it at spurts, but I think he needs to use his mobility to get out of the pocket and make some throws down the field. We've seen it at spurts throughout games. We saw it in the Penn State game when they needed it the most on that last drive. So for Fernando Mendoza, you talked about it could be inclement weather. On some of those zone reads, let him get to the edge and get into the end zone. He's not the greatest athlete, but he has enough mobility, Chip, to hurt your defense, and he's very comfortable throwing on the run. So I think if they get the Heisman winner on the edge, it bode well for the Hoosiers.
When Fernando Mendoza went up against the likes of Iowa or against the likes of Oregon or against the likes of Penn State and Ohio State, you would say, yeah, those are some of the toughest defenses he faced. They were also all defenses that picked off Fernando Mendoza. Yeah. His touchdown to interception ratio against almost everybody else is sterling, but he has been letting himself maybe force a throw that he thinks he can make. And those free possessions that Alabama could gain, those are the ways you get inside the head of an Indiana team that has not been here before. Because as much as Fernando Mendoza and Pat Coogan, their starting center, they embrace the band of misfits. Like, can you guys believe that we came from the FCS and Division II and all over? And like, they really rally around this, and it is charming. But you are playing in the Rose Bowl against Alabama. And if all of a sudden you let this game start to get a little bit slippery, Oklahoma's mistakes allowed Alabama to get back into the game. Indiana cannot be giving the Crimson Tide free possessions.
Well, an even scarier version of Alabama is an Alabama playing with house money. Like right now, they're the underdog story, and we saw how that worked out for a team like Miami here. So I go back to last year when all 4 of those top seeds that got a bye all got boat raced out of the playoff here. We should be remembering that situation because Alabama, with the momentum they have, they're getting healthier. They're honestly starting to peak again at a good time here. Like, the charming story of Indiana is great, but again, they haven't been under this much pressure. The one who's supposed to beat everyone here, they used to be the one playing with house money. So it's going to be a very different mentality for them, one that I hope they are ready for. But again, Alabama, 1 or 2 big plays early, like you mentioned, starting hot. That will be a great deciding factor to me, and I think a reason they could cover the first half.
You have to wonder, does Alabama have a little bit of an edge because they got to play a playoff game and Indiana has not? Going back to last year, I know the format's different, Chip.
Yeah.
But 0-4, the teams that had byes. 0